Welcome back to the vlog. It's been a while since we've done one of these vlogs. We kind of got tied up and busy during the hunting season. If you guys haven't checked out our Deer 30 series, that's a series that we run here on the channel. Kind of gives you guys a semi-live look throughout the hunting season as far as where we're hunting, how the hunting's going, if we have success, anything of that nature. You'll see that on the Deer 30s. Kind of gives you an inside look during the hunting season. If you haven't watched those, you can find them right here on the channel under the Deer 30 videos. But we really want to get back into these vlogs here in the off season now. Our season's entirely wrapped up. We're all done. I know there's some people down south, states like Alabama, that I think are probably in the peak of the rut right now. So if you guys are down south, good luck to those of you that are still out hunting. But we, for the most part, are done. We want to get back into these vlog videos, kind of give you guys some behind the scenes stuff. You know, going into the off season, from scouting to shed hunting to hanging stands to checking out new properties, checking out new public parcels, and really talk about some of the work that goes into you know, getting ready for the upcoming deer season. You know, a lot of successes in the fall start right now, and I think it's important to kind of touch on those topics and really take you guys along for the entire ride. So we're going to kick it off today and talk about shed hunting on the vlog. Shed hunting is one of my favorite, you know, outdoor activities, period. I like it just as much as I like deer hunting, so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to get on here and talk about, you know, kind of my knowledge of shed hunting, and hopefully it'll help you guys, you know, if you get out and shed hunt this spring. So with shed hunting, I think the most important thing, and it probably sounds dumb, but the most important thing is knowing where the deer are when they're shedding their antlers. And that brings the question to the table, when do deer shed their antlers? And that is very dependent on location, very dependent on weather. I can speak from experience from Iowa and Wisconsin, where I've lived the last 10 years. And tell you what I know from, you know, these locations. And I've shed hunted in states like North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, and kind of, you know, from my experience, I can tell you when antlers fall typically. But again, that is very controversial. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And there's a lot of, you know, depending on weather and a bunch of other things that go into it. But the main rule of thumb that I can come up with, you know, having looked for antlers now for 15 plus years, is that 20% of deer are typically whitetail deer are going to lose their antlers in the month of January. Yes, you're going to get some that are going to lose them earlier. Yes, you're going to get a lot that are going to lose them later. But I always go with 20% are going to lose them in January, 60% are going to lose them in February, and the remaining 20% are going to lose them in March. And that can all change. You know, there's factors like snow, cold. You know, if you get a huge dumping of snow, and then I know this year, for instance, Iowa got snow, and then we got the freezing rain, and it almost made a hard crust on top of the snow. It put a lot of pressure on the deer, or a lot of stress on the deer, excuse me, and they were having to bust through that snowy ice and digging for food. And I know I've had a few deer on, you know, on camera that have dropped earlier this year because of that. So it's all dependent on weather and a lot of other things, but typically 20% in January, 60% in February, 20% in March. I think it's another overlooked facet of shed hunting is that people don't really take into consideration that deer might not necessarily drop their antlers where you have monitored them in the spring months and throughout the fall hunting season. You might have a buck that you had on camera all of September, October, November, even December. Well, once hunting season wraps up and those deer kick it into late season mode, you know, they're no longer worried about does, they're worried about survival and making it to the next year. Those deer might relocate. They might go to, you know, a different area, whether it's a half mile away or 5 miles away. A lot of these deer relocate into their winter patterns, winter herds. They might relocate into these, you know, into their wintering grounds. And it's very useful for a shed hunter to get out and really monitor the deer if possible. If you're in an area where you can spend time driving around on the back roads, glassing deer, scouting is crucial to being successful, you know, when it comes time to look for antlers. Because if you're looking for antlers where deer were spending time in the fall, you might be in a dead zone when it comes time to look for their antlers in the spring. So public land's obviously a little bit different. You know, there's going to be other people that are probably wanting to go in and shed hunt just like you're wanting to shed hunt. If there's a group of deer that are hanging in a particular area, there's probably a pretty good chance that somebody else has eyes on them also. With spots like this, you can still run trail cameras, you know, if you're not worried about them getting stolen. But find a food source, find where those deer are hanging, and try to keep an eye on them the best that you can, whether it's through trail cameras or glassing from the roads, driving around, trying to you know, really find out when those deer drop their antlers. Because when they drop them, you might as well get in there right away and try to find them on these public land spots, because if you're not in there, other people are likely going to be in there looking for those antlers also. So scouting, 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 especially if you're on the public land. You know, just try to keep eyes on the herd, wait for those bucks to drop, go in there and try to find them. So my shed hunting tactics, they change throughout the season. You know, from January walks to March walks, it kind of you know, changes throughout the year where I'm walking, where I'm spending my time. Early on in the year, I stick close to the food sources. You know, I'm walking in and around the food sources, whether this is, you know, beans or corn or alfalfa, wherever the deer are feeding. You know, in some rural country, you know, it might be a corn crib or a silage bag. Wherever these deer are going to feed, that's where I'm spending most of my time right now, early in the season. I'm checking in and around the food sources, and I'm trying not to push into the bedding areas. Just because, like I said, the majority of the deer early in the year, they still have their antlers. You might get the occasional buck or two that'll drop them early. Those are kind of the antlers that I'm targeting on my early season walks. You know, I'm walking in and around food sources, I'm walking fence lines, I'm walking around pond dams, I'm checking nighttime bedding. And what I mean by nighttime bedding is, you know, deer are gonna lay up in the timber or wherever they bed for the majority of the daytime, but when they come out to feed at night, they're not gonna go all the way back to their main bedding area, you know, in the middle of the night. They're gonna come out, they're gonna feed, and then they're gonna bed in close proximity to the feed, and then they're gonna feed multiple times throughout the night, probably 2 or 3 times throughout the night. So those deer are spending a lot of time in what I would call nighttime bedding, and a lot of times that might be as simple as a waterway where there's nice matted down grass. You know, it might be on a grassy hillside right adjacent to the food source. I find a lot of sheds in the nighttime bedding, and a lot of times that's in close proximity to the fields that these deer are feeding. So early on in the year, I'm checking food sources, I'm checking fence lines around these food sources, and I'm checking these areas where deer are bedding throughout the night. With it being close here to the end of January, almost pushing into February, I think the most important thing to stress right now is get out and scout. If you want to shed hunt and find a lot of antlers and have success shed hunting this year, it's going to really depend on what you do here for the next, you know, month as far as the scouting goes. Because those deer right now, the majority of them still have their antlers, and the majority of them are going to be losing their antlers here in the next month. So, you know, if you've got time in the evenings, go out and drive around. If you go out on a sunny day, a lot of the sign out in the fields is very visible. Just find those areas where deer are spending a lot of time, even if that means knocking on doors and getting permission. A lot of farmers are gonna let you walk and look for antlers. A lot of times they're looking at it as you might be saving them a tractor tire. So get out, scout, find where the deer are, and you're gonna have better luck when it comes time to look for sheds this spring. As always, we appreciate you guys tuning in, following the channel, watching the vlog. We're gonna try to kick more of these out here, you know, throughout the spring, leading into turkey season. Like I said, kind of touch on all of our off-season stuff, from hanging stands to shed hunting and all that good stuff. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button. That way when new videos are dropping, you guys are getting notifications, and we'll catch you here on the next vlog.